So stay tuned there. And I'm going to start by sharing my screen and getting to the usual tip sheet and agenda for today. Um, let's see what we got here. So, we got a few different things on the agenda today. This week, I put it kind of like a minute by minute overview, just because I know everyone here has a busy Friday and I want to take your time seriously. So I thought, maybe it would be easy to just write it out, like what I'm thinking. If any of these sessions feel too short or too long, as always, let me know. You can give us any kind of feedback you want in the session feedback and question form. So check that out. Let us know what we should talk about next, or a question you have about a request that we should cover. And of course, the roll call, if you want to put your name in here, tell us who you are, where you're coming from, and anything you're interested in. That could be cool because if someone else sees it and has worked on that topic before or filed similar requests, maybe they can help you out or just make that connection. So, overview of the day. I'm going to go through this agenda as I am real quick. Then I'm going to take a poll on what we should cover next FOIA Friday. And actually, probably before that, I'm going to plug a document cloud orientation that my colleague Sunyan, who's on the call, is going to tell you a little bit more about. Then we're going to get to the topic of the day, which is opening up the state house or fun things to request from state legislators, especially as some, like the one in PA, are getting back into session. Then I'm going to do a kind of quick walkthrough of a journey I've been on to get records, military personnel records from the National Archives, and that I've titled "The Government is Not a Vending Machine," or all the things I did to try to understand a rejected request. Uh, Getting a rejection is hard, it's not fun, and you often hear these kind of strategies like ask for a clarification, get someone on the phone, get it in writing, and often they don't work. In my case, they're still not working. But I just wanted to give you examples of those and how they work or how I put them into practice, just to, again, reemphasize that this is the only way you can do it sometimes, and it takes time. So I'm going to go through that, and then we're going to end with some questions, workshopping, and I have some requests I want to file. So if you want to hang on the call for a little bit, you can file your request with me. Yeah, and that is going to be it for the day. Again, here all these notes I made while researching for today's topic about opening up the State House. Lots of links. Click through all the links. I'm going to talk through them as I present to you all. And then at the bottom here, we have some kind of more just general links to resources on Muckrock and in the FOIA ecosystem. And then at the end, all the notes and recordings from previous calls. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it to my colleague Sunyan, who's going to tell you about document cloud orientations.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here at FOIA Fridays. My name is Sunyan. I'm the developer experience engineer over at Document Cloud, which is another product of Muckrox. For those who aren't aware, Document Cloud is a portal for primary source materials, specifically journalists, newsrooms, and researchers and advocacy organizations upload primary source material to Document Cloud. And Document Cloud is currently undergoing a major uh, front end redesign, so the site will look pretty different. And on September 30th, we will be hosting a Document Cloud orientation, going over for the first time publicly this new redesign. For folks who are interested in what the redesign kind of looks like, I've linked in the chat a place where you can actually go to and actually look at the new redesign and log in with your Document Cloud account. Um, and kind of play around with it before public launch. Now it's not 100% there. This kind of is expected to be in mid-November to be the new version of Document Cloud. But yeah, you can sign up for the Document Cloud orientation in the notes for this FOIA Fridays. I'll also drop the link in the chat for you as well. Thanks, Dylan.
course. Yeah, I can attest to the redesign of Document Cloud being really awesome and really exciting. One of the things it makes a lot of use of is Document Cloud's add-ons, which if you're a journalist on this call and analyzing documents you get back in public records requests, add-ons in Document Cloud are an awesome tool to have in your toolkit. They can do all kinds of cool things for you. We have a GPT add-on that summarizes documents. We have documents. We have an add-on that searches for character strings and can tag documents based on those character strings. Something that's been useful for me as I've been looking at police misconduct records and tagging those records by officer names. Um, there's all sorts of different add-ons that can make dealing with big document sets and doing reporting on those documents a lot easier. Then the new design of Document Cloud is really going to emphasize that and help you use those add-ons, which are all open source, and you can find the code for those on GitHub as well. A lot of them are have been worked on by Sunyan at some point, but a lot also have just been contributed by the larger Document Cloud community and trying to find solutions to things journalists want to do often with documents. So yeah, definitely if you're a journalist, sign up for that orientation. Check it out. If you have any Document Cloud or add-on questions, you can bring them to FOIA Friday too. And if I can't answer them, then I will direct it back to Sunyan. So yeah, before we get into the topics for today, I wanted to take a poll on what you all want to see as a topic in the next FOIA Friday. So I just launched the poll. You should all see it. The question is, what do we want to talk about in the next FOIA Friday? I have some ideas there. And then at the end, there is a open-ended question that you can fill out if you have something that's not on the list of topics that you're most interested in. So I'm going to give everyone a minute or so to fill that out because it'll be useful for me and hopefully give you all something more exciting for the next talk if we can land on something in this list that has a lot more interest than the other items. I'm looking at the results right now and it's looking pretty close. The first question there, not to affect everyone's answers, but the first option of election office request, how to fact check the election distrust bureau, is not doing well. And that was the one I was most excited about. So I'm glad I'm asking you all. I'm going to keep this open for just another minute and let you answer without me distracting you. Also, if you're on this call and have not answered, I see there are 6 people who are on the call who have not answered. Please answer. I'm going to close it out in just a second. All right, that's closed out, and I'm going to get back to the topic of today. Um, here. So today's topic is opening up the state house. And I'm going to go through the basics all the way down to some more complicated stuff, ending with the most complicated of all, which is lobbying and campaign finance data, which I'm really not going to get into too much. That could be a whole nother topic of conversation on a later call if folks are interested in that. just drop it in the chat. Let me know, or again, check out that feedback form and write a little bit more about what you want to see there. So yeah, the basics. I know a lot of people on this call know that FOIA logs are a really good place to start, regardless of what agency you're interested in requesting to. But again, I think it's worth emphasizing and continually reiterating that FOIA logs are the first place you can start. And I linked to a request here for a FOIA log from the Office of the Governor in Illinois. If you go to that request and download it like I'm doing right now, you can check it out. This is, I think, for 3 years. And most FOIA logs you see will look generally like this. You'll have some dates and the information requested, and probably the requester. Here they've even kind of sorted out organizations, I assume, by the emails that people have requested from. And you can just go down the line taking a look at what's been requested. What you don't have in this FOIA log, which doesn't always come in FOIA logs, um, which is whether that request was rejected or fulfilled. But at the very least, you see what other people are requesting as well. So that's a good basic place to start. One second, I'm going to move our chat to another window for me just in case questions come up. Feel free to interrupt me as I'm talking and write something in the chat and I'll try to respond. You can also all unmute yourselves. Um, Go for it as well. I'm fine being interrupted as long as it's not too often that it's distracting to everyone else on the call. But yeah, interrupt me if you need. Um, so yeah, basics are FOIA log, retention schedules. Again, I link to a good request for retention schedules in this tip sheet. You can check it out here. I just thought this was particularly good language for retention schedules. The request comes from Beryl Lipton, who used to work at Muckrock, and she has a lot of experience requesting lots of different types of records. So she covers a few different ways retention schedules can also be referred to or be utilized inside of an agency. So if you're looking for retention schedules, that's a good place to start. Okay, now to the fun stuff, calendars. So calendars are a way to get inside your public officials' work priorities and close allies. Detailed calendars show who that person is meeting and sometimes even what is discussed, though not always. If you take a look at this link that I put in the tip sheet to Pennsylvania's Governor's Josh Shapiro, I live in Philadelphia, and I'm interested in uh, the governor of Pennsylvania's calendar. You can see he has a public schedule. And so you might think if you're interested in, say, a governor or someone with a high enough position that they would have a public schedule that, oh, you don't even need to request it, it's already public. Um, but when you take a closer look, this is not the full detailed calendar. Again, this is a public schedule. Someone just asked in the chat to drop the link. Let me do that again. Um, and so beware that you may not be actually getting a full public or a full calendar if you're just looking at the public schedule. Spotlight PA in Pennsylvania has done a lot of good reporting on this. Our previous governor shared a very detailed schedule, very detailed calendar of who he was meeting with, and what they were talking about even often. And Josh Shapiro does not do the same. So it's good to kind of compare different officials' calendars with each other and previous officials to current officials to understand if they're really sharing their full calendar versus, again, a public-facing calendar like that one. But yeah, they can really show you who has this person's ear, who they're listening to, who they're talking to. Um, but in Pennsylvania, actually, you wouldn't have much luck getting your hands on these. These have mostly been rejected in Pennsylvania, as far as I know, because of an exemption in Pennsylvania's right to know law that has been used in calendar requests before. So if you check out this link, This is the bit of case law. Oops, where's that coming up? Pull this PDF over here. Um, this is a bit of case law, which is always useful to know when you see rejections happening, where it stems from, that defined the records that the Philadelphia Inquirer were requesting from the city of Philadelphia as personal notes, which are an exemption in Pennsylvania's right to know law. So personal notes and working papers. Uh, Keep that in mind. Although here's two good requests on Muckrock for Governor Ron DeSantis's calendar. Comes in kind of a weird format at the end here. Um, but it's a good example of what you might get back in a good some good request language from present to date, requesting that they're in electronic format, preferably as an export from Microsoft Outlook or whatever similar software is used. This is something you could clone on Muckrock or just copy and paste the language in your email to send over for a public official's calendar that you're looking for. Here's another one. So check those out. Those are both filed by Ben Welsh. He's a pretty prolific Muckrock user as well. So you can even, I think you can click, let's see, you could find Ben Welsh and you could follow him on Muckrock. I think you can follow people's requests, or maybe you can only follow specific requests. But anyway, keep this page or Ben Welsh's Muckrock requests available to you because he's always requesting interesting things that you can copy. Um, oh, Sunyan, who knows Muckrock very well, just said that you can actually only follow specific requests on Muckrock, not people. So yeah, follow any of his requests, but also just check out his profile on Muckrock. Um, Okay, beyond calendars, we have gifts. Gifts are really interesting and fun. They are usually filed once a year and come in a document where that public official has to name their income, creditors, business interests, and any gifts, hospitality, or other perks they accepted. So the dates and specifics are vary by state. Again, I live in Pennsylvania, so I'm going to give a few Pennsylvania examples. Um, they have to file these to our state ethics commission by May 1st. For a lot of the documents that we're talking about at the state house level or pertaining to state senate or state senate or legislators, you're going to get things through the state ethics commission. And what's also important to note is they can vary by administration. So I put a link here to a early 2000s Pennsylvania governor and all the different gifts he accepted. That is very different than the um, current governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro's policies, which is also different than the governor before him, Governor Tom Wolf. His policy was basically not even a water bottle. Especially with different administrations in your state, you may see different policies on what can be accepted, and that may then affect the output of what you're seeing is reported. What's also important to note is in-kind contributions may look like gifts. Again, another Pennsylvania example, Josh Shapiro accepted over $1,000 worth of event tickets and catering from a powerful lobbyist, while his campaign was also technically requiring that no employees accepted tickets to recreational events at all because they qualified it not as a gift but as an in-kind contribution. So there's some kind of wonky wording there that could make something that looks like a gift something that actually gets reported as an in-kind contribution. Um, Give you another example from Pennsylvania of what this looks like. You can find it in Pennsylvania at the state ethics commission's website. So this could look similar in your state if your state maintains a database with the actual documents for this reporting, and you can just click on browse, and then again in Pennsylvania they're called statements of financial interest. And then let's see. We'll go to a representative from my district in Philadelphia, Rick Krajewski. Let's go down, way, way, way down to KR. KRU. There we go. So this is Rick Krajewski, my state representative. Um, and here we have what kind of this document looks like, at least in Pennsylvania, the statements of financial interests. You can see it up there. I'm going to cover some examples in California. They're called a Form 700, or I think statements of economic interest. And if you go down, usually towards the bottom, we have somewhere in the middle sources of income, and then you have here sources of gift. So he accepted $300 for in food, or $300, yeah, in food for community engagement or expungement clinic. Received $1,200 from Walmart in turkeys for a community giveaway. Uh, Another about $1,200 in coats for a community giveaway. So, yeah, it's pretty obvious what the gifts are here. There's enough detail, but you have to find the actual statement and kind of scroll down. Uh, it's not organized data in a way that's quicker to use. And you may even see handwritten notes at the end of these as well, and a good variation of how different officials are actually recording it. I'm going to pause for a second. I think I lost my one of my panels here. Oops. Let's try that again. There we go. Um, so like I said, these are called statement of financial interests in Pennsylvania. In California, they're called statements of economic interest, or Form 700. Um, I linked to this great project from Cal Matters where they're taking these documents, like I just showed you, or the California equivalent, and turning them into structured data, which is really cool because then you can compare different candidates to each other and the amounts accepted from a much bigger perspective. So if you're curious about what all you can do with statements of financial interest, this GitHub walks through the different ways they're processing data on those documents. And you can check out the stories they produced from those documents. Uh, Really, really great work on gifts and travel. This story I think is really great, how free trips for California legislators lead to bills. Again, they're categorizing who's receiving what and then looking at how that's influencing legislation. So, uh, yeah, that I think is a really great place to start. Here's a request you can copy to request a spreadsheet of all gifts um, for possibly for mayors or governor type offices, you could request this. I assume for almost all other officials, it'll have to come through the reporting form. But this is another interesting request that Ben Welsh filed for gifts that the mayor of LA accepted. And you can see her administration actually keeps a spreadsheet of all the gifts and the value of those gifts. So if you're interested in someone who holds a position like a mayor or a governor or a town president, there may also just already be a gifts database in that administration's production. Um, and lastly, don't just stop at the legislator. Check out what your judicial government requires in reporting. Um, ProPublica, and other media over the last couple years have exposed the importance of this for the judicial system. I believe in Pennsylvania, they are not required to, or officials in our judicial government are not required to do the same reporting. But it definitely varies by state. So don't leave the judicial government out of your interests. Um, Travel is usually found in that same form and can look a lot like lobbying. Here's a great article, again, Pennsylvania specific, on how these luxury trips that state legislators reported and filed were with different groups or sponsored by different groups who had interest in different bills in legislation at that time. So, you can think of gifts and travel as one potential way to influence or again get the ear of your political officials, and it's good to know who may have that influence and how it may lead to bills. Again, like that California Cal Matters article. So that's all for gifts and travel. Those can kind of be found in that same form, or often found in that same form. Then you have contracts. And I'm already well surpassed my time of wanting to be finished with this by 1:30, so we can move on to some other stuff. So I'll try to wrap this up quick. But contracts are another great way to get at that same question, which is who's influencing legislation and how does it actually play out? Any kind of program or initiative that you see spun up out of bills often require contracting with different organizations and businesses. So getting your hands on the real contracts that then come out of those bills give you a good grasp of whether that program is working, how the state intended, and how the contract came to be. I see someone copying and pasting that. That's great. Take this wherever you want. Keep that note. Um, and yeah, you can find those in places like the Office of Comptroller, Treasurers, or Legislative Clerks. And really, what you're looking for are the terms of the deal, scope of work, amounts of payment, and exemptions from bidding requirements. Getting some good answers to those questions will help you really understand the contract and what its goals are. Um, this is I found interesting, and I don't know how often this happens at a state or local level across the country, but I just happened to be looking through contracts for the Suffolk County, or for Suffolk County in New York, and on their open data portal, they had this database of all contracts that their county government maintains with other businesses. So it could be that there is a database of contracts at your county level or city level as well that you could request. But one strong way of getting at it is just requesting the exact contract if you know of a specific initiative or bill that created a program. Um, yeah, and again, what you can see then is what this reporter and Laura Corley showed in Macon County, that governments, legislators often put a lot of effort into a bill that then, once it gets on the ground, doesn't actually have the effect or do the work that it says it's going to do. And in this case, basically lost millions of dollars in the process. Um, so take a look at that, and then this muckrock request gives you some good language for what you might want to use if you're requesting contracts. This is I thought was useful because it's a very general request as well. So it's not even for a specific contract, but contracts about specific technologies a city government or a department of a city government maintains, and more specifically about smart technology. And so if you're looking to file something for not just a single contract, but a group of contracts or contracts related to a specific initiatives, or oops, some initiatives. Take a look at this request and either clone it on Muckrock or copy and paste and send it out from your email. Um, and lastly, as I'm already over time, the lobbying and campaign finance part of this is going to be by far the most complicated. Um, like statements of financial interest, they're disclosed once a year. Lobbyists disclose these. So as before, we were seeing public officials disclose these in this report submitted to the state government. Lobbying information is disclosed by lobbyists, and they generally describe how lobbyists sought to influence, how much money they spent, and whom they entertained along the way. This guide is a pretty good just kind of basics of lobbyist disclosures. If you're not familiar with them at all, it's a good place to start, just to get a good definition of what you're looking at, or would be looking for. Again, the type of questions you're going to ask yourself is who's paying for what? What are they lobbying on? What's their position on bills? Who's being influenced? In Pennsylvania, just like the other database that I showed you, there is an open database of these disclosures, but similar to the other database I showed you, you have to know who or what you're looking for, or you can browse them. It's not a tabular data set that you can kind of just plug and play and explore. It's in individual documents. Um, but again, much of it comes in the way of handwritten forms that can be hard to decipher. There are a lot of duplicate records, spelling errors, headaches in figuring out how to amend reports, and just missing pieces of information, even though it's required. So these are kind of long reports to fill out, and they're often filled out poorly, for less interesting reasons than any kind of wrongdoing. But this article from the Detroit Free Press or investigation um, points out a lot of what you would be likely finding, I'm sure, in your state lobbying disclosures if you're noticing that there's less information that you than you expected. So check this out. Ion Michigan does really good statewide reporting in Michigan, and this is a really good investigation about what you can expect to find from lobbyist disclosures, but what all the problems you'll face on the way will be, and how difficult that system is to decipher and see where money is really being spent and how much by what officials or by what lobbyists on what officials. Um, Here's another great guide for getting started into that. And again, if folks are interested on this call in covering campaign finance or lobbying, we could do some more deep dives. But for now, I think taking a look at these basics will help you figure out what's worth your time to find or to try to dig up. So I'm going to pause there and see if anyone has any questions before I continue into other parts of the call. Also, I'm going to have a sip of water. Any questions about those requests, about calendars, contracts, um, FOIA logs, gifts, anything that you're interested in that I didn't cover that's not completely clear? Anyone have any types of requests that I didn't cover that would be useful to share with other folks on this call or kind of fit into this general theme?
I had a question about like an FBI request, and I wasn't sure if that would be petition to like a local chapter of FBI or federal, or if there's like a way to do that if there's a federal. request that one can submit? Sorry for the.
Yeah, no problem. That's a good question. As far as I know, that there is that would just go to the general federal FBI um uh records custodian at least first. Maybe if they needed to direct you somewhere else, they would. But I think Muckrock has a lot of good guides on requesting things from the FBI. So let me see if I can pull up one of those guides for you. And in the meantime, if anyone else has any questions, uh, feel free to ask. Here we go. This isn't quite what you were looking for, maybe, because it's just more towards requesting a single FBI file. Um, but I think this will get you started in digging into some other Muckrock resources that we have about the FBI. So if you check that out, that may help. And again, there's been a lot of requests filed on Muckrock to the FBI, and we have lots of different guides. I'm going to link a few here to working with FBI. And Michelle
Thank
had a
you.
great answer. So they have a portal. Again, if you're filing through Muckrock, it will be submitted through the portal on Muckrock, and you'll see everything coming back on Muckrock. But if you're outside of Muckrock, you'll go to that portal, and Michelle says they'll get to the local offices. I think in general that is a pretty useful just concept to keep in mind. I think uh, filing not directly to a regional office right away, if you don't know which regional office this pertains to, is completely okay because you're often redirected when needed. And I think that's not too much of a burden on the public records custodian of like a headquarters office to try to figure out if you're not sure. And it may make more quickly get you to the office, whether local or regional, that you should be directed towards.
Thanks so much.
Of course, I'm going to drop one more guide um, on FBI related requests. Um, and then I'm going to come back to our agenda for the day. So that's all for State House data and docs. Uh, the probably a little lighter conversation that I want to cover next is first closing out all my million tabs that I opened up while showing you things, and then getting to um, this checklist of things that I've done to navigate a rejected request, and how that could be useful to you, or just remind you again that the things you're already doing are sometimes the best that you can do. So I, for the last couple months, have been interested in requesting the military personnel files of people who are running for office in different parts of the United States. Just because, as we've seen in different times in American history, that's something that political officials or people campaigning have not been totally honest about. And seemingly something pretty easy to request. So what you're looking at is a request I made for Nick LaLoda's Navy personnel files. As far as I know, if this is a good request to copy if you're interested in something similar, but I'll kind of show you what the problem is that's playing out. Um, I'm requesting this person's military personnel files. I know this is exactly what they're called, and this OMPF is what I'm looking for because it's files and not a whole folder. You can, if you're a family member or next of kin or have this person's consent, request the whole folder. But I'm just looking for the files, so I knew exactly what I was requesting. I made it clear also, or I tried to make it clear that this person is a public interest because they're running for political office, and that should favor disclosure for many of these records. Again, they're not a private citizen, they're a public interest. Um, and then I made it clear I'm not next of kin. I don't know this person's social security number because other parts of these documents that one could get for a former service member of the military do require that. But I'm saying again, I'm not requesting that. I'm only requesting documents releasable under the Freedom of Information Act. So I tried to cover all my bases in this request. And then the response that I got actually pretty quickly, I was excited because I filed this, let's see, on the 31st of May, and they got back to me a month later, which is quicker than what I had seen looking at other requests in Muckrock to the National Archives for military personnel records. So I thought, great, let's see what small fix they need of me. And what they told me is we could not identify the military service record for the above named individual. Um, Please give us this information. This veteran's complete name, which I did, date and place of birth, which I did, service number, which I didn't have, social security number, which I told them I couldn't give them anyways, branch of service, approximate dates of service, gave both of those as well. So I thought this is weird because I basically gave them all this information. And the one thing that seems important here that I didn't give was a social security number. And that is something that I couldn't give anyways. And I was making it clear that the things I was requesting were not documents that you would need a service or a social security number to request anyways. And one second, I'm just seeing we have a question from Gary Nesbitt in the chat. Is the slide presentation you have been showing available to us? Yeah, Gary, if you're looking for what I'm working through, it's just the Google Doc that I've linked to a few times above in the chat. Maybe Sunyan, if you're still on the call, could you drop that link there for Gary as well? Um, so I thought, this is odd. I basically supplied all this information. So I responded and said, hey, I just want to confirm that this means that everything else that I had supplied was not enough. And basically the only thing that I need, that only thing that would help me find this person's personnel file is their social security number. They did not respond. And so then I called. So here we go. First roadblock strategy number one is ask for clarification. So they gave me that response, and I said, hey, does this mean that the information that I supplied up to now is just not enough and I need a social security number? So I replied to that. They didn't reply. After a week, I was like, okay, this is taking too long. They haven't got back to me. I'm going to call. So I found the hotline for public records requests on the National Personnel Records Center's website and called and talked to one employee who reviewed the records request and said, yep, you just need a social security number. And I said, I'm not an next of kin. I don't have a social security number, though I do know that you can request certain records without having that person's social security number. And that person told me they couldn't tell me anything more, but they couldn't locate the records with the information I gave. And then I asked, do you have any notes on the search that you could tell me about while we're on the phone or anything else that would be helpful for me to know? And they said no. So I thought, well, that was pretty much unhelpful because that was exactly what seemed to be said in the message that I already got or the email that I already got and doesn't get me much further. So I called again. And I just to double check, spoke to a different employee and asked the same questions and got the same response, which was basically, you need a social security number to get this document or to get these documents, which to me was starting to get frustrating because I was thinking, okay, I made it clear in my original request in capital letters that I'm not this person's next of kin. I do not have their social security number, but here's all the information on this person's name, date of birth, dates of service, branch of military that hopefully should be singularly identifiable. But I guess I'm getting the feeling that it's not, that that's not enough. So I got someone on the phone, asked for clarification. Then I got it in writing. So after I had those two conversations, I let's see, I emailed with their outreach custodian. I don't know if this is, oh yeah, this is in the appeal that I filed. So if you go to this request, you can see um, me emailing the um, outreach coordinator for NARA and saying, hey, this is the problem I'm running into. Here's what I heard speaking to someone on the phone. Kind of, could you tell me what information is needed for these personnel files and not personnel folder or anything under Privacy Act? And she responded saying that records are not public until 60 years after the veteran is completely separated from the military, which isn't necessary. I mean, that is true in some cases, but I'm saying um, that wasn't the type of request I was filing. Um, and so I was like, well, again, then because of the way some military records are filed, the social security number may be required in order to locate the records for your request. It's not required, but newer electronic records are filed by social security number by the service branches and cannot be accessed without it. This part really stumped me because I was like, wait, okay, so maybe something changed. Maybe this is done differently now. So went to roadblock strategy number 4, which is talk with outside experts. I put in a request in the RCFP legal hotline, which if you're a reporter on this call is super helpful, and talked with an attorney there who explained to me that sometimes these changes to ways that documents or data are stored in the federal government have to be put into a systems of record notice. So maybe what this person in from the National Personnel Record Center is describing is that there's been a change, and now you have to have a social security number to request these documents. So I asked, is this SSN retrieval mentioned in a SORN somewhere in the last few years? Unfortunately, she's not even familiar with the term SORN, so that wasn't what I was looking for. She says also that it's not a change. It's just for newer records. Older records were filed by service member only, some by name as well. Um, so we continue going back and forth, and then she brought up again that the question are there if the records are not 62 years old, then they are not public records. Um, and again, I said, and those aren't the types. I'm not asking for anything that if their records are older than 62 years old, you can basically access anything or much more. So you maybe could get the folder and not just the files. And I said, I'm just asking for the files available under FOIA, not the folder available to next of kin, or that could be made public after 62 years. And I copied and pasted some information from the website, and she said, you're correct. You can records of any age can have certain information released. That's what I'm asking for. But a social security number is required because that's how the record is filed. Um, so this is basically where her and I's conversation ended because now I'm back at the beginning where I need a social security number and uh, and thinking, okay, well, how are these public records if you need a social security number to access them? You know, because I don't have the social security number of anyone except myself, and most other people don't, except for their family members, maybe if they have children. Um, so then I again went to outside experts after thinking about how the documents are stored. Did that research, tried to think of maybe it's an issue of how the documents are stored. So I reached out to two historians, two military historians who have research about personnel records and asked them both. And they both had different points to share, mostly that they've also struggled at times with this response that the records cannot be located without a social security number. This particular historian, Douglas Sterner, told me that he, before the pandemic, had a lot of requests being fulfilled very frequently and efficiently. And then in the post-pandemic world has just seen a really, really strong decline in how many of his requests are fulfilled and how quickly. So that led me to believe, okay, maybe something has changed, or maybe this is a part of a broader personnel problem, and maybe they're not processing the requests in the way that I thought they were. And so finally, then I reached out to OGIS, which is the Office of Government Information Services, and just kind of wanted to get a sense of what they thought without appealing it to see if, since the archives is within OGIS, maybe they have more understanding of it. So I asked again, went up the ladder. Now I'm going up the ladder to OGIS, under which the archives fall, um, and said, hey, um, this is what happened. I sent them an email, and then they basically got back to me saying, you got to appeal. We can't really tell you anymore until you appeal. So lastly, I appealed and am still waiting to hear back on my appeal. So all of that is to say, here's the things that you're often told, and they're not always fun, and they don't always get you much closer to the documents that you wanted. But the government is not a vending machine. If it were, maybe this would be the type of vending machine. And with that, I will close out the rejected requests journey portion of the call. And to round out the day, I wanted to see if anyone had some more questions. I have a few questions about these two requests that I can answer. But if you have any questions about military personnel records or about the State House or about FOIA roadblock strategies, anything of that sort, please let me know. And in the meantime, I'll tackle these two questions. First, Nick Penson Stotler asked, did you get the Tim Walsh military personnel records? No, I did not. Their response was not the same response that I got for the other requests, but that actually those, I guess, have not been transferred to the archives yet, and are actually housed at the specific branch of military that Walls was in. And I got the same thing for JD Vance. So I haven't re-followed up on those. But again, it just shows that I thought when I was looking for military personnel records that it might be a bit easier than it is to find those. And the storage of these records actually might make it more complicated than I imagined. So the way that they're stored in the archive and also when they make it to the archive versus when they're still at the branch of the military and have not been transferred yet. Laura Kamaldi asked me what branch of military this is. So this was the Navy. And I can see, let me check how long Lalota was out of the military. Laura, I know you asked this question a second ago, and I'm now just getting back to you. What would that change in the request? Do you have experience with military personnel records requests? Laura says she does, and she unmuted herself, but it seems like maybe she cannot talk. Oh, her mic is not working, which is totally fine. He's been out of the military since 2008, so it's been uh, just over almost 2 decades. Maybe if Laura's mic fixes itself magically, we'll have more from Laura on what I did incorrect, or what could help me. And oh, Sunyan is saying that the original link that I put in for notes is not working. That's interesting. It should be. I'm just going to remove an embargo I had on that request and see. So that link to my original request, which was supposed to be there, should now work. Um, oh, interesting. Laura says she's had some luck with just asking the HR department of the branch of the military, even if their military separation date is outside of the years when the records go to NARA. So that's good to know. And just like NARA responded to me to go back to the branch of the military, maybe that's an easier way to start or a better place to start. Any other questions? Does anyone have a request they want to workshop? Something they've been wanting to file or something they're interested in that they don't know where to get it or how to phrase the request? Um, we're almost at time, but I'm going to hang on a bit and file requests. If you have any requests you want to file, feel free to just hang on and file those now while you're on the call to hold yourself accountable, or ask any questions to the group. Um, if anyone has any music they want to hear while we're doing a little filing, feel free to let me know in the chat and I could turn on some tunes. Otherwise, we can just hang out quietly and send off some requests.
Hi, I'm so sorry. This is Michelle Mundo. I have a quick question. I was
Yeah.
also having mic problems.
Okay.
I had a couple questions. The first, if you're wanting to see social media messages, say for example for a Facebook page for a legislator, if it's run by their clerks, legislative aides, employees, that would be the same type of communication request as you would do for an email, right?
I believe so. Just because it would be, yeah, it would be fully contained within the official capacities of the office, and what is created by the office during work hours as well, even if it's on social media.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. And then the other thing is, not a journalist anymore, and I am interested in Document Cloud for book purposes. Does that still count or no?
Is Sunyan still on the call? Looks like Sunyan might have jumped off.
Okay, that's cool.
Um, That is a good question. I would say sign up for the orientation. You can ask that to Sunyan there, or just send over a verification request and see how we respond to it. I know there are technically Document Cloud is for journalists, but there are a lot of kind of use cases as well. If you're a former journalist who's published work and showed the work and show, maybe a little bit about what you're working on the book, so that we know that you're using it for journalistic purposes or for writing purposes, I think that would probably get accepted or would
Okay,
be a good example of journalism use.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course. Um, and I know, does anyone else have any thoughts on Michelle's question about social media messages on an official social media account or have any experience requesting that? That was just my guess, and it sounds like Michelle and I had the same idea, but I would be totally open to finding a better idea if anyone here has requested that before. Nope. Okay. Well, if you are ready to move on to the rest of your afternoon, feel free to hop off. I'm going to stay on for a bit. I'm going to end the recording, stay on for a bit, and file some requests. Let me know if you have any questions. And again, check out the feedback form. Let us know what you want to see next. Find me in all the Slack channels or over email. And I'll see you next time.
Hi, Dylan.